like to know more about what you mean when you say a really healthy benefit to our citizens, because as an example of where my thought process immediately went to, when I left the Florida legislature in 2010, the state budget was $72 billion. The state budget that they just finished up with today, I believe it was $102 billion. So you know, as well as a lot of us do, that there are an awful lot of things in a big budget like we're dealing with here that we do not have control over, like the cost of rising premiums, for example, or some of those issues which we just talked about today as it relates to BTS and the advances in technology. So, you know, that healthy benefit to our citizens that translates to me that they do have a healthy benefit by living in Pinellas County. We have a very solid county government and county administration that has provided enormous public services to our citizens that make this the paradise that we all so much enjoy, and none of that comes without cost. And I agree with you totally that cost is getting really prohibitive, especially as it relates to affordable housing for our young people and our old people as well. I mean, it's getting to be a very dire situation because there's just no inventory. You know, if you're suddenly looking for a home and need to buy one, it's just overwhelming. So I'm curious, is all I'm trying to say.
Yes, please, Commissioner Peters.
So yes, not only are cost of living going up, but many businesses have really suffered. And some businesses, because they can't get staff, have had to close down days. We have some restaurants that opened up and can only be open for 3 days because they can't get help. So they're having a hard time making ends meet just to pay the rent, the utilities and everything that goes with it. And my thought, Commissioner, is we raised taxes last year to a tune of projected $31 million. And when Mike Twitty was here, he said that is going to be significantly, maybe not significantly in your eyes, but up to 8% higher would be what we would collect. So I don't know what 8% is added on to $31 million. But where I'm coming from is that $31 million last year went strictly into reserves. It didn't go to pay for one bill. It was strictly designated to go into reserves and not pay for a bill. And I understand last year that there was a lot of unknowns, and we really did not know what was going to happen. So if we put $31 million plus into reserves and didn't pay one bill, then I think this year, when our citizens went through the worst year, financially, emotionally, I mean, you name it, they went through an incredibly difficult year. And we raised their taxes. And so my thought is, if we just went to the rollback rate, that means we would still collect $31 million plus and have no more bills to pay except for that 3% or whatever else make you do. So I think if our reserves, when we see them all, if they are so healthy that I'm getting the impression they are, should we be working on some more reserves for 1 year? I'm just saying maybe we should take 1 year off of reserves and let our citizens have a little break after the horrific year that they've had and how difficult it is for young people to find a place to rent where they can afford it. My son has to have a roommate because he certainly can't afford to rent an apartment in this county. And so where I am coming from is I think since every single dime of our money last year, that increase that our citizens paid, went into a savings account. So we clearly felt that we should have their money and not them during a very difficult time, that this year we should not be putting their money in a savings account for us. And that's all I'm saying is let's just pay the bills, whatever the bills are. If it includes the buses and the infrastructure, whatever the bills are, but can we take 1 year off on reserves if, in fact, when we get the reserve numbers in, they are as healthy as I think 1 year off isn't going to hurt us. And if they have a break for 1 year for these restaurants to catch up and hopefully people to get back to work and they can open 7 days a week or 5 days a week or 6 days a week, where some restaurants can't be open more than 3 days a week right now. And that's where I'm coming from. You want to know where I'm coming from? I'm not saying that infrastructure isn't important. And I understand the core function of this government. And I am not saying at all that we should cut back on our core responsibilities of the core function of government. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is since we collect more than $30 million last year for reserves only, and we put it in the bank because we felt it was better for us to have it in our bank than them to have it in their bank, that this year we reverse that and we don't put money in our bank just for savings and let them have a chance to catch up. So that's where I'm coming from.
I heard you.
Thank you.
I heard you say that. So I have a follow-up clarification question, Mr. Chair.
I'm just looking around the room because I want to make sure others get the chance to weigh in if they want to.
No, mine's follow-up on what she just said, if you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind. So, based on what you just said, Barry, did we not do that because it was the first time, at least ever since I've been on the commission, that we were trying to put our eye on taking care of this year, but also looking out for 2022? Am I getting that correct?